Hello, I'm Mark 2 Ben. Welcome back to the channel. Today's just going to be a simple video of welding up a customer's car. We're going to bring it in a second so you can see what it is. It's just going to be a simple video where we're going to show you where the issues are, what we need to do, what we need to cut out, clean up, and then repair with panels, a bit of fabrication and a bit of welding. So let's go and get this car. So this is the car in question. The classic Ford Mustang. What an ultimate car to be working on. We'll just do a little walk around with the car itself. So the gentleman who, actually I found a job on Facebook. Someone mentioned me in it and I thought I'd give him a message. He was just asking for someone to do a bit of welding repair. Someone's handy with a welder. And I dropped him a message and he messaged me back and I said, look, this is my page, this is my YouTube channel, give us a look, see what you think. And he promptly had the car sent down to me. We organised transportation for him. We used Wayne from JJ Recovery. We sent him his number and Wayne went down there promptly and they picked it up and delivered it to me. I mean, what an awesome car to be working on. Now I believe it was imported in 2021 from the States, and it's his personal car and he just wants to tidy it up a little bit, ready for the summer season so he can use it himself. So we got a couple of tags in the window, which I believe this is the registration tags and what they call what's their equivalent to our MOT. This says 2021, though it's not long been in the country. It's got some lovely BF Goodrich radials, some Bart wide steel wheels. There's the interior, look. She's a manual as well, which is awesome. I mean, look at that. It's just absolutely a lovely vehicle. You know, being a Ford, but also the American side of things, the ultimate muscle car. And of course, she's got a V8, which I do believe is a 289 Windsor. It sounds absolutely lovely. She's got a nice Edelbrock carburetor on there, look. I mean, to me, this is an absolutely awesome car to have, especially something that's come from the States. You know, it's lived most of its life in the United States. You know, the roads it's seen, the characters it's seen, and now someone has saved it and brought it over to the UK. You know, I mean, look at that front end. Absolutely gorgeous. She is a doer-upper, so she's got loads and loads of little bits to do, but that's the fun of it, as we all know. We buy these cars, we have fun in them, and we repair them as we go along, you know. Right. Let's get it into the workshop. Right, so we got it in the air now. We can have a good look underneath. And I can point out whereabouts. He's pointed out to me where he wants it repairing. So, anti-roll bar, or in America they call it the sway bar. It is meant to be attached to the chassis rail there. So you can see it's pulled through at some stage. So what we're going to do, we're going to patch that. We're actually going to lose this anti-roll bar because he just wants to cruise around in it. He's not going to race it. It's going to give me a weekend car. And if you don't like it, we can always bring it back and we can modify it so it can fit next time. But for the time being, we're just going to cut this section out here and we're just going to weld in a new section. Same for this side. So as you can see, that's where it did fit before, or it was fixed, and it's pulled through. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut this out and we're going to put a plate in there. Going forward, this cross member here, it's very flexy, very soft. So we're going to cut that out along here, and we're going to put a new plate in up to the chassis leg, or chassis rail shall I say. Someone has done some repairs on it before, as you can see. I mean, for the age of the vehicle, generally underneath it's not too bad. It is quite solid. These American cars are, in the right states, are kept pretty good. But there's just a few little areas we need to address. So it's a 40mm socket. Got the extension on there, battery ratchet. And then that's that anti-roll bar off that side. Same for the other side. And again, that clamp's now free. Now we're just going to pull the anti-roll bar out, get it out of our way, and then we can start cleaning up the chassis rails. One anti-roll bar. So we removed the wheel. What we need to do is we just need to clean this section up here, get rid of all this underseal, expose it to bare metal to see how far this rot, any cracks, anything like that, we get rid of, and we can sort of expose any damage that we can't see that's under the underseal. I'll just show you now what tool I'll be using for that. So this is what I'll be using. I've got a cordless Milwaukee angle grinder. It doesn't have to be Milwaukee, it doesn't have to be cordless, just makes it easier for me. I'm using a 4-inch wire knot wheel. I find this best to remove all the underseal, any rust, and it cleans the metal up nice and cleanly, ready to weld to. So it gives a nice contact area for the welding, and obviously, like I say, it exposes any damage we can't see underneath that underseal. Let's get cracking. So as you can see, we've just moved most of the underseal. We probably can clean it up a little bit better, but what we're just aiming to say is how far this rot travels, if there's any more holes further back, and then we can start assessing where we're going to cut and infill with a plate. So my plan is to cut it around about here, and we're going to go up probably about half an inch. We'll fabricate a plate almost like a channel just to go back in there, only because obviously it's torn here, you've got a crack here, and it's a little bit soft at this edge. If we just go around, you can see this side, it's not too drastic if I'm honest. It's mainly where the metal's got soft and fatigued over time, where the anti-roll bar has been up against the axle and the forces that it's been up against, it's just fatigued the metal. So we're just gonna cut that out and replace it. And remember, as we spoke to the customer, we recommended we just remove the anti-roll bar, and if he does decide to use it more often than not and feels like the back end feels a bit loose, we can always come back at a later date and refit it. But for the time being, it's just catching it now before the void inside the chassis rail starts rotting away with the English weather, because of course we have salts over here. We know the weather's not great, and that will just start eating away and costing him a lot more money in the future. So we're just gonna cut, fabricate and weld in a new section. So what I've done is I've just marked up a section that I'm gonna cut out. That's all down to sound material. And what I mean by sound material is nowhere that's got rust, nowhere that's cracked. So I'll be cutting that area out, and it'll give me a nice clean surface to weld to. So what I'll do now is I'll crack on and start cutting it out. managed to cut out some of the chassis where I marked up. So that's that section there we've cut out. And it was nice and easy. Just had to be accurate with it, because obviously the tighter we get that panel in there, the better the welds are going to be. So that wasn't too bad. So obviously I'll just grab my light. This side wasn't as bad, but you can see what I am repairing. So it's just nice to know that the customer will have some satisfaction that there ain't holes in his chassis. So what we'll do now is we'll just go over that with a flap disc, just neaten them edges up, and then we'll go over why not will, and we will just clean all the metal around it, just so it's got a nice contact area and surface to weld to, so it will look nice and neat. So I've just started to mock up the plate. There's a bit of flat sheet. I think it's 2mm galvanised steel. So that will go in there eventually. Still got it as tight as I can. It could probably be a little bit better. But I'm just going to tack that in. But I'm going to trim it to size underneath, and I'm going to build up the other side. I'm going to fabricate the other side, and that will be ready to go in. So I've just gone over with all that with a flat disc and what I will, just to give us a bit of a shiny surface to weld to. So what I'll do now is I'll just crack on with the fabrication of this plate, get ready to weld in, and obviously I'll film some welding. But first, and most importantly, it's lunchtime. I'm going to chow down on some rice. It's lunch today. Bit of peri-peri microwave rice. Lovely old job. Then we'll crack on with the car. Right, so we've made the plate up and we've tacked it into place. So we'll just go over it now. Just do some final adjustments, bit of fettling before we buzz it up. So that's the plate that we put in, which I don't think is too bad actually. It's gone in quite nicely, and it's in contour with the chassis though. So once we weld it up, we grind it back, and we put some underseal under it. No one, you would never know. And that's the sort of look we're going for. I see some jobs where people just plate over the seal and you see this big dirty great big plate and it looks absolutely terrible. The welds ain't great, the big dirty plate. It's just, you spend a bit of time on it and you can just make things fit nice and do a nice job for the customer as well. It doesn't take much thought. It's not rocket science to do it, just a bit of time. Measure twice, cut once. But yeah, we'll just do a little bit more fettling. We'll just go over it with the wire brush now. So I'm just taking my time with it. I don't want to get anything too hot underneath here because we're very close to the petrol tank, and obviously I'm trying to avoid fire as much as possible. Right, all welded in. Backed it off with a grinder. I think that looks pretty good to me. That's what we're with. We're just going to go over that with some stone chip now and just see it all in nicely. Happy days, one side done. So now I've just gone over with some seam sealer quickly before I hit it with a stone chip, and I've just dipped the brush in thinners and stippled it because it's all sort of stippled underneath here, so it'll just help it blend in. I know it sticks out a minute because it's grey, but once you get some weather on it, that will go in nicely, but I don't think that's too bad of a job, to be fair. Happy days. So the seam sealer's had time to dry, and I've just gone over it with a quick coat of the stone chip. And as you can see from a few different angles, ignore that, that's just a clip, but that's gone in lovely. As you can see, chassis rails in now one piece, protected with seam sealer and stone chip, so that should prevent any further rotting. But I'm happy with that, considering this is what we're up against. Must say that the metal on these are paper thin. You've got to take your time with them, but I'm happy that's gone in nicely. So this wraps up today's repair on the chassis rail of this Mustang. In part 2 we're going to be doing the other side, and then we're going to also move to the front and do the floor. It's been fun doing this. Any questions, any comments, any advice, feel free to leave a comment below. And then until then, please like, subscribe and share. All the best, Mark 2 Ben.